on track, visions intact. Civil engine rolling set new trends. Beyond CAG, visualizer and transportation flow. Streets entwine, innovative paths redefined. East Coast vibe to rhythm we ride. Building dreams with strength and pride. Blueprint, precision, nothing weak. Pushing limits, goals we see. Beta shine bright, forge our way. 3D visually illuminate the day.
My name is Sam Lytle. I am the founder of Beyond CAD Incorporated, and today I just want to make this short video highlighting what is new in the beta version of Civil Engine. We've been working on this over the last couple of months, and so I'm not going to do a comprehensive overview of Civil Engine, but I'm just going to show what's new in this version versus the alpha version that was released a few months ago.
We take the game beyond KD's realm in the driver's seat, seize the helm. Streets of tomorrow, crafted with precision, revolutionize the past with bold vision.
All right, so I have Civil Engine beta open here, and this is the greeting screen that you'll see when you open this version. And I'm going to jump into some of these example projects to show some of what's new. And that's one of the first things I'll show you is we do have new example projects. You'll see here we've got this Florida diverging diamond, and that's by our friends over at Ardura. And if you click these links, it will go to their website to give them credit. If you have a base model that we could use publicly as an example project or for marketing, let us know. We will give you credit just like this. We also have a new bridge construction with detour example project highlighting our phasing and Gantt system. We have this Montague Peanut donated by the HMH engineers team. And I'm going to first jump into this Florida DDI. All right, so once we've jumped into here, perhaps the first thing you might notice is that we have overhauled our traffic library, both the default vehicles that you see and also the ability to edit the traffic library of any path or globally. So you'll see we've added a number of new high quality vehicles. These are leveraging the photorealism of Unreal Engine, and so there are dozens now of different vehicles. There are a few of them that show up in a number of different colors, and for now we just have the one semi-truck, and it has started to articulate a little bit, but we're still working on that. We do plan on improving both the articulation and the semi-truck in upcoming versions of Civil Engine. Select a path like this. You'll see the cars that are coming along. We can control the vehicle library per path by going here to this traffic icon and then going down here to the traffic distribution. So if you go by vehicle, you'll see that we can select these from the drop down. So there are a few vehicles that don't blend in as much, that aren't turned on by default, but you could turn them on if you wanted more diversity. And the same is true if you did pickup truck. We have this futuristic pickup truck that will show up more often, and if you don't want things to show up, then you just deselect them. So you can do it by vehicle, or if you want to do it by type, you can do that. And these can be done in percentages as well. So if we wanted to do 100% commercial truck, we put that up to 100, and we put these down to 0. If you don't see it immediately, you might have to just restart, which is down here on the bottom right. I'm going to turn that back on, and you can also speed up your traffic, which is really nice. So you'll see now that we have 100% trucks in this lane. So that's a per path method. If you want to do this globally, then you can do that in the traffic section over here, this panel. So to do that, you'll go to settings, and then you want to do global traffic on all paths, and then you can do it by type here. So in this example, I'm actually going to highlight, let's reset our traffic, highlight another new feature of Civil Engine beta, and that's these low poly vehicles. So if we go, let's go turn those on in the by vehicle, go back to type, and let's just make that 100% and everything else 0. Reset our traffic, and let's turn off our traffic paths visualizers and go to 10x. And now you'll see that all of our vehicles are these really cool low poly vehicles. And we can turn down the speed. And you'll see here we still have a bug where if you do global traffic on all paths, it's going to reset the pedestrians as well. So just be careful on doing that. And again, this is beta. We're still working on a lot of the bugs that you'll see, but this is much more capable than what we saw in the early versions as well. Another bug is if you do speed up the traffic, you may get backups like this. And if that happens, then you can just always reset the traffic down here and start it back over. All right, also new in Civil Engine Beta is a number of new path presets. Most of those are concentrated in the pavement markings. We've added a number of different types that you'll see there, but there are also are a few others in some of the other categories, so make sure to check those out. We also have some new materials. So if I go over, you can see here we have this concrete texture. If we go to our hierarchy, base models, so primarily we've got a few new concrete textures, concrete worn and cracked. So check those out. And we also have some other new brick, like concrete block wall and concrete block wall 2. And then we have added and updated some of the other categories, including our stylized, which I really do hope is utilized extensively because it's a really cool way to show certain elements of your projects. You can see here this one's semi-translucent. And for most of these stylized, you can also add colors to those using the color system. So try to leverage that as much as possible. All right, I've reset the traffic library back to the default. And I just want to show how now we have intersection controllers working as well. And again, this is new, so you may experience bugs, but for the most part, that should work, especially if it's just kind of a standard intersection. So you can see here these vehicles, they're stopping. And we also have it where you can connect dynamic assets to those. And one thing that's nice about Civil Engine, the way we have it set up, is you don't just have to sit here and wait forever. You can actually, again, turn up the speed of this to kind of see these the traffic movements much more quickly, either for your own building or if you want to make renders showing those things, you have those options. So I'll show how to set those up in just a minute, but I do want to show, let's reset the traffic again. I do want to show the dynamic traffic signals. So you can see here we've got a couple in here already. And these ones, the light isn't working, or the yellow isn't working. That may or may not be fixed by the time you're seeing this, but definitely will be fixed before public. But for example, let's say signal add 2. So I've added a new instance of that, and it shows up right here. So I'm going to put that on there. This is how you connect these to the intersection controllers. You could also, you can select from a number of options. If you just wanted it to hold a certain phase like red, you could do that. But if you wanted it to cycle, you could do that. You can see the default's all 1 second, but you could increase that. But to link it to an intersection, you want to go to, you'll see here, this is west. This is the intersection controller that we've already made. And then this is important, and a bug will hopefully fix, but you'll have to go to off for this to work. And then you need to make sure that this is set to the correct phase. And once it is, I believe this is reset our other ones, so let's just turn off. All right, so that worked. Again, there might be bugs when you're setting these up, but you can just kind of reset them and they should go back to working, and you have to make sure that they're shut to off. All right, so this big one, the yellow, did turn on. This other one, it did not. You can also adjust the color of these. So there's a number of different settings that may or may not be available on all of these different traffic signals. So make sure to check those out. We do have some also for pedestrian movements. Like there's this one with a countdown. And some of these we still haven't set to work with intersection controllers yet. All right, I've opened a blank project. I just want to show how these intersection controllers work. So let's do just a really simple intersection. So let's have a lane in each direction, kind of north, south, east, west. And then I'm going to go rename these just so that we can know. So let's call this one east. All right, so if you're using intersection controllers, it's really going to help to name your paths. And now we want to go to, again, the traffic tab, and we're going to go to intersections, and let's do traffic intersections. So we're adding a new one, and you can also rename this. So we could call this. Another thing that may or may not be working when you're looking at this is there's no delay between phase switching. So the way we can do it right now is let's just do a 10-second phase here. Let's do a delay between, and then let's do another 10-second with a delay between. So now we want to add our paths. So let's add east. Let's add west. Okay, so we've added all of our paths. And then we want east and west to be on the same phase, and we want north and south to be on the same phase. So let's put them as 3 here, because again, we're using 2 and 4 as a delay between the switching. And if this is ever distracting to have the cars run through each other, you can always just turn off the traffic using this round button down here in the bottom right. So now the important part is we have to set our stop bar location. So if I move this back and forth, that's moving that stop bar location. And as a note, you need to make sure that these visualizers are turned on, or else you won't be able to see it. And we are hoping to make this a brighter color. So again, when you see this, it may be a little bit different. But we want to set that wherever the stop bars would be. If you're on a real project, that's probably going to be easy because you might already have your pavement markings. So you can see that one there. Now let's do the west. All right, so now you can see all of those. And again, if you turn off your path visualizers, you won't see those anymore, although you'll still see the wear paths. And now we can check to see if our intersection is working. And again, the best way to do that is just to speed up your traffic down here in the bottom right. All right, so that's how that works. And again, sometimes when you go fast, they don't leave the path, and so you get these backups. You can just reset that. And that typically won't happen if you just have the standard 1x speed. All right, I want to show this other one. This is built in a blank scene as well, just to show how you can theoretically use multiple intersection controllers on the same paths. And the reason that works is because each intersection controller, we have 2 here, you're going to set a separate stop bar even though it's on the same path. The caveat I'm giving here, again, this is beta, and so sometimes this doesn't work, and you may end up with bugs where it's not working the way you want it to. So for example, let's see that we want to change the phases of west 1 and east 1 to 3. We just kind of want to flip it. If we do this, you might experience a bug. And now you can see here it's kind of broken it and the traffic's going through each other. So just be mindful that there are some kinks that we're working through with this, but that's how you would want to do it. And then just one other note is you can try other things too. Like if you wanted to put multiple stop bars on the same path without doing another intersection controller, you could just add that path again. So if I wanted to add west 1 again, I can add that path, and now it will set up a second intersection controller on the same path. So that's an option just to test and see if that's going to help with your whatever your intersection controller design is. And I also want to note that if you'll jump to this roundabout project, I had some intersection controllers. For roundabouts, I think the ideal solution is going to be when we get merge diverge completely working. For now, that's not the case. And so what you can kind of do is set up intersection controllers and then just put a short pause. And that's going to usually give you a pretty realistic look. And then you just may have to be careful with your renders as far as making sure vehicles don't drive through, or maybe just keep your traffic density low enough that you don't have vehicles driving through each other.
So it can roll out, design gems intact.
All right, speaking of traffic, we're going to kind of show where the merge diverge feature currently is at. Again, it's a work in progress, but to do that, you want to turn on your path visualizers, and then you want to go back to your traffic panel, go to links, and then down here at the bottom, you want to create path link. And now you do that by selecting, you have to select a node, and then you want to select the second node. And you'll see here it created that link. And now it's going to divert a certain percentage of traffic through there. All right, so let's do that in a blank scene to see if we can get the traffic to merge over. And in the future, we hope to add kind of a percent distribution, so you can say what percentage traffic is going to move between those different paths. So I'm going to now go back to our intersection panel, go to links, and now we'll start. You can see here we've got our link showing up. All right, so now I'm going to show something else that's new, and this is oft requested from our users, and that's better path interpolation options. So previously we just had a default, but in a scenario, let's say that we want to do pavement markings and we don't need them to be curving. So by default, if we wanted to go back and forth, it's going to try and curve, which may not be ideal. Now we have an option, let's delete that. To down here at the bottom, you can go to settings, default type, we can do linear. Now if we do that same thing, you're going to see we're going to get exact linear, which is sometimes what you want. This is also super useful if you're doing things like fence, especially the rigid types. And I can go out to the end of a fence. So curve custom tangent is still a work in progress, so that one's not recommended, but we do have curve clamped. So to see the difference of those, you could see two types of rail. And so you can also change that over here in the details panel. You could change that on any path. All right, we have a few other new dynamic assets in addition to the signals that I already showed. We also have mast arms. So if you needed to put your traffic signals, you could get one of these placed, but these are customizable. So once it's placed, then you can change the parameters like so. Just a big caveat that if you do want to place traffic signals on these, they're not going to sense them. They would for terrain or other imported objects. So if you try and put it up here, it's not going to work. You have to, unfortunately for now, put it below and then raise that up. But hopefully we can get that fixed. So there are a number of other mast arms that you can try that are customizable. We also have some new labels and graphics. So we have a point of interest arrow, and this is pulsing by default, but we could change that to whatever texture we want. We could also change it to whatever color we want. And then there are a few different arrow styles. And so these can be really useful for calling out specific parts of your project. And then you can use the phasing system to phase those accordingly so that they aren't persistent if you don't want them to be. We also now have labels, and they don't have all the features in them yet. We've brought those over from Beyond Civicals, but we will be adding more configurations to them at some point. But for now, you can edit the text and the color. All right, speaking of visual graphics, which are more and more an important part of Civil Engine, you can now turn on the pathway arrows. So you can do that one by one by placing them using our path system. So if you go to other, you can see we have a few presets. And just as a reminder, when you first place them, they're not going to show up unless you turn on your path visualizers. That's something that we're aware of. But once you go to the custom visualizer, you just need to check that on and off, and that should work. And then from there, you can change the parameters like the color and so on. All of that said, usually an easier way is just going to be to use existing paths. So for any path placed, let's say that we want to select this loop ramp. Let's go to our traffic, unlock it. you can turn on that pathway arrow visualizer just by checking and unchecking that. So you can see here I already have it configured to show as orange, but we could adjust the transparency, we can adjust the color, you can also adjust the background if you want that to show up. And then you can adjust the type of arrow and the speed. So feel free to play around with those. Again, really nice way to communicate various movements depending on what it is that you're trying to do with Civil Engine.
Engine choose stack. Designs don't lie. So it can roll back. Design shins attack. Engine choose stack.
All right, one other little change I'm showing here on this example project. It's kind of subtle, but it makes quite a bit of difference. And that is the wear paths have been slightly altered. So you can see here that it's now just a single wear path instead of the double that we had in the alpha version. And we feel that that looks a lot better and more natural and realistic. Those are on by default if you place a traffic path. So let's turn off our traffic. And you can see how much of a difference that makes. So anytime you place a traffic path, those will show up by default. If you ever don't like them, you can always turn them off over here. You just go to Asset and say None. Personally, I think they look better, but that's up to you. If you do still like the double wear path, that's also an option. If you go to our path presets, you can go to pavement markings and use wear paths double, and you can still get that. Those don't have traffic assigned to them, but you could add traffic to that either directly as part of this path, or you could place another path. If you wanted to add it directly to this path, then you just go down to the bottom, add an asset slot, and you want to search traffic. That will filter your drop-down list and do all traffic set. All right, also new are we have low poly pedestrians in addition to the vehicles that I showed before. There are, I think, 7 different models, and so you can switch between them, and then you can animate these just like our standard dynamic asset pedestrians. And then also new is the fact that we've added some new construction and safety personnel. So we have some firefighters, we have a few new construction individuals in addition to the ones that we already had. Sometimes it takes a second for the textures to load, just FYI. And new in beta is we have a ton of new animations. And we are still adding all the props that go with these, but we now have 53 different animations. So we have the 9 that we had originally, and then we have a number of new ones, including things like tripod survey. Again, the props aren't here, so some of these still are a work in progress. We have GPS survey. We have drone launch and drone flying. We have a number of note-taking animations. We have a number of presenting animations and discussing animations. Raking, this is specifically for like paving projects. Again, these still need to be updated a little bit. And many more. So just make sure and look through those. And when we get props, I think this is gonna be really cool to adding more people and assets to your project to better communicate what you're trying to do. All right, also new in Civil Engine Beta is our new path camera system. So if you go down here into the bottom left and you go to create a new video, you'll see here we have a link to path feature. And that way you can link this to any path, traffic or otherwise. Once it's linked to that, then you can control a number of parameters to communicate whatever it is that you're trying to communicate. And you can see here we already have a few that I've renamed, camera 2 and camera. So if we go back to our publisher, we can go link to path, camera 2. Now you can see we have control over where that camera starts and stops. And then we also have things like the vertical offset, the horizontal offset, and tilt, and so on. You can get it configured the way you want, or you can use some path presets, which are pretty cool. Let's increase the length of this camera so it's not moving so fast. So you can get a really cool camera view very easily using these presets. One other note is that you'll see some of these projects that I'm demoing, they're not available in the example projects list. And that's because some of them are just really big file sizes and we don't want to increase the download size of Civil Engine. And so we don't include them in the initial download, but you can go download any of these by clicking this more example projects down here at the bottom. It will take you to a page where it has all of the example projects as well as some of these larger file size ones. So feel free to download those, the .ce files, and load them in your own version of Civil Engine Beta. All right, and then finally I want to show the new Gantt chart system. And you can see an example project of this. It's this one that I'm showing right here, which is called Bridge Construction with Detour. To see the Gantt chart, you want to go down here in the publisher. But before that, I just want to show that I created these phases. You'll see most of them are off except existing, but I could turn that off as well. And once you create those phases, every asset or path or folder or base model, they can all be assigned to the various phases. So this takes a little bit of planning, but once you get it set up, then you can go to the publisher, go to 4D phasing. Again, it's this middle button up here. And then you can create a new chart. I already have this one here. I'm going to go to small phase track size. And now I can push the play button and you'll see that this will automatically now filter through my different phases. And in this scenario, we are replacing this earthen embankment with a new bridge, but to do so we need to create this detour, and we also need to add temporary dams to work in a dry workbed, and then we're doing the abutments and the piers. We just speed it up by scrubbing left to right. Now we have girders in our bridge deck. Now we're removing our temporary dams, and now we have our full bridge. So this Gantt chart system is already working. Make sure and check that out. We don't have that connected to cameras yet, so if you want to render it out, you may just have to do a screen capture, but you can also use these down here if you need to. So eventually we're going to have the sequencer, which is not available yet, and in the sequencer you'll be able to blend phasing with the different cameras, but for now we just don't have that ability. All right, I'm going to wrap this up just by talking about what our focus is between now and the public launch in May. Obviously, endless cleanup and bug fixes. Many of the bugs you experience, some of them I've already pointed out. Most of them we're probably aware of, and we're trying to clean them up. We really want to round off the rough edges of Civil Engine and make it a really cohesive software application. Also, we're going to add the area system. That icon has shown up in our menu for a while, but it will work. But it's not there yet, and it's going to work similar to the path system, but for enclosed areas and surfaces. And so that area system will be things like grass, area highlights, tree placement, stuff like that. Also similarly related is the brush placement of 3D assets. Will hopefully come along in time for our 1.0 update. Importing texturing improvements. Importing needs a lot of work, as does texturing. We obviously want to have picker tools and paintbrush tools, so you don't have to go one by one through the submeshes in the hierarchy. Civil Engine Cloud will be coming along. We don't know how much that will be used in production, but we do anticipate that will be a really good way for people to test out Civil Engine without having to download and run it, or maybe if you don't have the GPU, you'll at least be able to test out these example projects. The sequencer, I mentioned that before. The sequencer will be kind of like video editing. It'll be a way to tie all of your cameras and phasing and other elements of your project together. We do hope to have other things like a custom sign creator, which will be kind of like a super duper dynamic asset. And then we're going to have an extensive training curriculum so that you can have a step-by-step guide of how to learn how to use Civil Engine built by our team here at BeyondCAD. We're putting out a ton of information. If you haven't already, go to our YouTube channel or go to beyondcad.com/civilengine and make sure to check out all the materials that we already have available. My Civil Visualizing with Sam series walks through a lot of these example projects and shows how they're put together, so check those out. And then Beyond 1.0, to be completely honest, we're going to switch back to Beyond Typicals and focus on a good 4.0 update of that, but we will obviously continue to improve Civil Engine, including bake traffic, which will be a way to kind of record the position and keyframe of all your traffic and tie that to cameras in the sequencer. Also, presenter mode and publish to web. Those may be available by our public launch, but I'm not sure if they will be. And that's just going to be like a way to have a clean interface to present your projects. And then publish to web is a way to render out all your cameras and automatically embed them on your website. Obviously, there are a ton of things we can do with AI. We have plans to do that from top to bottom in Civil Engine. We will be working on that in future updates. Obviously, continued cleanup and improvements, and we do hope to get out a later version of 1.x, 1.0 plus late in 2025. All right, and then just finally, I want to just give a shout out to something that we've been working on here internally, which is BeyondCAD Studio. For those of you that don't know, I ran a company for 6 years called CivilFX, and we provided 3D visualization services to transportation and civil projects. I built that team up over 6 years, sold it, and have been doing BeyondCAD ever since, with the goal of making better software tools so the engineers and planners can do their own visualization. That said, a lot of our customers have expressed the need that they don't have the ability to make these nice base models, or maybe they just want complete visualization services. They don't want to do this stuff themselves. We're going to start offering that as a service using Civil Engine, leveraging the efficiencies and the qualities that we built within Civil Engine. So if you are interested in BeyondCAD Studios, make sure to reach out to us on our Contact Us page. I've also put a link to that in the show notes here, or in the YouTube subscription. And we would love to set up a call and see how we can help you. And if you think this might be a thing, especially in 2025, please reach out, because it's really helpful for us as we build out this services team to know how much demand there will be for us to help with your projects, either partially building base models or the complete visualization. All right, my name is Sam Lytle. I appreciate you spending the time to check out Civil Engine Beta. Again, we are less than 100 days away from the launch of the public version. Make sure to reach out to us if you have any questions. If you want a demo with you and your team with Civil Engine, let us know, and we would love to do that. My name is Sam Lytle, and I will talk to you in the next video.
Breeds and seeds, beta still on track. Blueprints stay stacked. In this digital space, designs lead the race. Cityscapes evolve as we redefine 3D lenses. Visions align beyond boundary. Plus we innovate urban landscape. The captivate, so it can roll. Design.